Hey all, and welcome back to Beyond Two Souls. Now we're going through a series of extra videos of different bits and pieces from the game that I didn't get to show off in the main playthrough. And the first thing that needs addressing are the alternate endings. Now I will say I'm not going to be showing off every possible variant for good reason, because there's quite a lot of different variables of things that could happen here. But I'm going to be showing off the main possible outcomes. So this video in particular, I'll be showing off the three options for the life ending that I didn't show off in the playthrough itself. Because if you remember, we have this little intro to the epilogue which plays in every possible ending right up until you get to the point where Joji is by the lake. And you get 4 choices. In the main playthrough, we took the choice of going with Zoe, who was the little girl who Tuesday gave birth to in the homeless chapter. And that particular option led into some fairly obvious sequel bait, even though there's not been any mention of a possible sequel. Because at the time of recording this, it's been quite a little while since I recorded the playthrough itself, thanks to a few delays and whatnot. And in that time, we've had the announcement of Detroit, which is the next Quantic Dream game, which looks kind of interesting. Naturally, with David Cage's stuff, I'm a little bit wary. I don't go in expecting great storytelling, because, you know, this is not great storytelling. This is enjoyable storytelling to me, at least, but it's not traditionally great storytelling.
Now that they know what's on the other side.
The general concept of Detroit is there's this race of androids, and I can tell already that Cage is going to go for the android racism, can androids integrate with humans sort of angle, because it's the obvious thing, and, you know, in the nicest way possible, David Cage is not a very good writer. So that's just where I'm assuming this is gonna go.
Without his constant presence by my side.
But in other Quantic Dream happenings, while we're waiting to get back to where we were, this game, Beyond Two Souls, has had a PS4 release. One of these updated PS4 remasters that seem to be pretty common these days. And from what I've seen of it, it looks worse. They've done the thing of going over the top with motion blur filters, those kind of overplayed effects, and it just looks kind of clunky, and I'm not sure why they did that. I'm not sure whether this game actually needed a visual overhaul, because the PS3 version that I've been playing in this playthrough, it looks nice enough. I guess they could have fixed up some of the textures in the bigger chapters, or bigger areas, I mean. Like, say, the Navajo desert, they could have probably worked on the texture pop in there. Little details like that, but they really didn't need fancy motion blurs or the other sort of weird lighting things. It's more going towards the filmic look that Cage likes, I know that, but I think it's counterproductive in making the game look nicer.
It took months. Months of nothing passing by. Then I woke up.
I think I mentioned this in the main playthrough, but this is such a really nice looking area to have as this setting before Jodie moves on.
So obvious.
But the first alternate life ending we're looking at is going to be the alone option, where Jodie doesn't actually settle down with any people in particular. She's just gonna sort of travel.
Hear what I was feeling. I told Ryan I couldn't see my future with him.
And naturally, given the way they expect you to play the game, of just picking an ending and rolling with it, it's fair enough that they reuse these sequences after you've made the choice. Like, this is the same thing of Jodie cutting off with Ryan that we saw in the Zoe ending.
It just wasn't strong enough.
But naturally, when you're like me and you want to see the different endings, like we're doing now, yeah, it's a little bit repetitive, but that's just me playing the game a certain way, to be fair.
He wants to live a normal life anyway. Boyfriend, job, counting the days till my next vacation.
She mentions they're not having a job, and it makes me wonder how she is getting by, because she's clearly roughing it a little bit, kind of like she was in the homeless chapter. But really, that doesn't seem like a reliable life choice. Like in the homeless chapter, she was in that situation just because she had to. Whereas making a living of it, it seems like that's gonna backfire on her somewhere down the line. Especially given she's just sort of sleeping wherever she can find. In a bit, we're gonna see her go towards a little motel room sort of place.
They're with us every second of every day. I know they're lurking in the shadows.
And this, as you can see, is a sort of lower scale like hotel room, because they still have a tiny little CRT TV, and I'm surprised any of those are actually functional still, because CRT TVs, they have a habit of randomly stopping working. But this is something that happens in all three endings we see here that didn't happen in the one I showed off. That's obviously Aiden watching over Jodie still, and that's kind of seeing a completion or a resolution of the character development we saw between Jodie and Aiden through the main game, because it was always hinted that they were getting closer, and even though Aiden was an annoyance to Jodie, she had a lot of love for him. She liked him being there, or at least felt upset at the idea of him not being there. So I see what they're going for. And it does show off that character well, that Aiden's still looking over her, even though they're not tied together anymore.
It's so obvious. Deep inside, I always knew. I just needed the silence around me.
So now we're going to see the ending with Jay from the Navajo chapter.
I told Ryan I couldn't see my future with him. We've been through too many difficult times together.
And this ending is one that I haven't seen the other version of this ending, because I assume it'll be a case where if you saved Paul in the Navajo chapter, then you'll be able to see him make an appearance there. Like, I don't know exactly how it'd look, because I'm trying to show off the main variants. I don't want to go to the time of, okay, now let's replay the whole game but letting Paul live, or let's replay the whole game of letting Cole die, or whatever. Like, I didn't really want to take that sort of approach, so now I'm just going to show off there are endings for the cast from Navajo out in the desert here. But it's something I didn't really appreciate too much first time around, but I kind of gained a liking for it as I was going through the footage from the Navajo chapter a lot, given how long that chapter went on for. After a while of looking at this desert area, it actually sort of becomes relaxing, like a relaxing visual, because you're just sort of roaming around on the back of Ashki, the horse, and it's kind of nice to look at after a while. Like, I don't normally like desert levels, but when you just sort of watching it go by, it's peaceful, and because it's a slower paced chapter as well, that particular part of it, it's memorable to me. And yeah, there is kind of an unfortunate implication here that Aiden has seen a bit much. But, you know, he's still here. And you can see just from her expression there how close Sir and Aiden became. She just looks so happy and relieved to have seen that he's still there. But we have one more life ending. And in a way, I think they were sort of prompting you to go with Ryan throughout the game. Because Ryan, out of all these characters who Jodie can possibly like see the end of the game with, Ryan's the one who got the most development. Like, we saw him at first, he was very standoffish and aggressive towards Jodie. I think it was the separation chapter where he first took her from the DPA. And over time we saw them working together. Then he betrayed her in the mission and made her do some stuff that she really didn't want to do. But then they got close together again after that. So there was that sort of progression of their relationship together. And I think when you get to the point of Dragon's Hideout where they had that sort of confession and showing everything they'd been through amounting to that, it's pretty obvious to me that that's the direction the game was hoping you'd take. And seeing them here together, their ending, especially here outside the house with the car and the shopping and all that, it's like they're gonna have the most normal life together, which is kind of odd when you contrast it to all the completely tense, I guess, situations they've been in together up to this point. Because like I said in the playthrough itself, once you've been through all that sort of stuff, it's going to be very difficult to sort of move on from that. So the fact they've been able to do that as an ending, it's a little bit hard to believe, but at the same time, it's a nice ending, I guess. It's like the weight off their shoulders sort of ending.
I had to learn to love again. To put my trust in someone, to stop fighting and running away.
And of course Ryan's got a yacht. He gives me that vibe of the kind of person who would have a yacht. And that might come off as a little bit judgmental in a way, but he just seems like the guy who would have a yacht.
About it again. As if it all never happened. As if the other side didn't exist. As if it could never come back into our lives.
But that line, as if it could never come back into our lives, I wonder if that is explicitly referring to the fact that Aiden is still watching over Jodie at this point, or whether it's just a sort of artsy consideration sort of thing. And fire texture looks a little bit awkward, but fire textures always do look a little bit awkward, I've noticed in games. And I guess it's because there's so many layers to the colours that need to be pulled off, right? And it's only a very brief sequence, but still. I think this and the ending in the desert are the two most peaceful of the outcomes, at least out of the ones I'm showing off in this video, because you've got the soft music playing, you've got, in this case, the completely empty beach. It's just the lay back and relax after everything that's happened ending. And here we get the little message from Aiden. This actually sort of reminds me of the ending from Ico a little bit. But that's partially because of the empty beach area. And we do actually get one of these scenes at the end of all three of those endings that I've just showed off. I cut it for time just because this is actually the exact same ending from all three of the options that we've taken in this video. The only one that's different is the Zoe ending, because Zoe's there with you at this point.
I know it's not true. Once Pandora's box is open, it can never be closed again. No. It's not nightmares. It's what is about to happen. I've died twice already.
But ladies and gentlemen, join me next time where I'll be taking a look at the Beyond endings. I'll see you then.
Next time, I'll kill everyone.
My God, I was so afraid I lost you. There's no telling what we'll find out there. How much time do we have after we've activated the self-destruct? We're not coming back.
Saturday night, and I'm locked up in here.
Can't do it, babe.
She's more than amazing. She's magnificent.